Have you ever woken before the sun? Before the birds stir, before the windows glow, before the warmth creeps into the floorboards? That peculiar hour, still breathless, where the world waits. It feels like a pause between sentences, like the earth itself is holding its breath. Now, imagine that moment never ends. Imagine you wake up one morning, stretch, blink toward the window, and find darkness staring back. Not clouds, not rain, not an eclipse, just black. The kind of black that presses in, heavy, wrong. You get up, check your phone, check the clock. 7:12 a.m., but the sky says midnight. You wait, assuming it's just some strange delay. The sun always rises. It's always risen. And yet, minutes pass. The room grows colder. The birds outside, silent. The traffic, thinner. The sky, still empty. You check the news. You call a friend. You step outside. No one knows anything. Some say it's a power grid failure, a global blackout, a satellite error. But deep down, your body tells you the truth. Something is missing. The sun, the one constant in your entire life, is gone. Not dimmed, not veiled, gone, not with a bang or a blinding flash. No mushroom cloud, no cosmic roar, just nothing. One moment it was there, and in the next, it wasn't. As if it had been carefully erased. You stand beneath a sky so black it seems to swallow thought. No blue, no warmth, no edge of dawn. This isn't night. Night has a rhythm, a purpose. This is something else. It's absence. Silence stretched too far, and though the stars remain sharp, unfamiliar cold, they offer no comfort, because the one star that mattered no longer does. Think about that. Think about how often we ignore the sun. It lights every morning, feeds every tree, powers every breath we take, and yet we barely notice it. We draw the blinds, we curse the heat, we forget we live because it burns. But now you remember. Now, in its absence, you feel everything it once gave slipping away. Your breath fogs the glass, your skin prickles. The house creaks differently, the shadows longer than they should be. Artificial light flickers trying to imitate what can't be replaced. Maybe you're not the only one outside, looking up. Maybe your neighbors are too, staring upward in disbelief. But what can you do? There's no direction to look in, no culprit, no sign, no reason, just a world gently, slowly beginning to realize that something enormous has ended. Even the animals know. Dogs pace the floors, unsettled. Cows refuse to feed. Birds remain perched in stillness, unsure whether to wake or sleep. Somewhere, a child asks a question no parent can answer. Why didn't the sun come out today? There's no answer, because nothing like this has ever happened. We are creatures of rhythm, of morning and night, of the rising sun and the setting moon. We trust the sky to tell us when to begin and when to rest. And now that rhythm is broken. You feel it in your chest, like a beat skipped, like time itself has stumbled. For now, power still works, screens still glow, but it feels wrong. Electricity without sunlight is like breath without a pulse. You check every source you trust. Scientists are silent, governments delay. Everyone waits for someone else to explain, but no explanation comes, because there isn't one. This isn't a weather event. This isn't an error. This is something deeper. And as the hours pass, that knowing grows heavier. Not because of what we see, but because of what we no longer feel. No heat radiating off the pavement, no golden light pooling through the trees, no shadows stretching across the floor, just cold. Just confusion, just the dark. You never noticed how comforting the sun was until it stopped arriving. We imagine ourselves as powerful, advanced, builders of cities, conquerors of space. But take away that single star, and we are blind mice in a maze. The earth still spins, but it spins into emptiness, and the quiet becomes unbearable. Because in every moment of silence, we are forced to ask the question, what now? What happens when the source of all life disappears? This is not just about physics. This is about faith, not religious, but instinctual. Faith that the sun will return. That morning always follows night. That life has a pattern. Without the sun, we are adrift, not just in space, but in thought, in time, in identity. We built our entire concept of a day around its movement. We measured seasons by its angle. We watched it rise behind mountaintops and fall beneath oceans. We bathed in its warmth and cursed its fury. But now we can do neither. Now we can only remember. This is not a world at war, not a world struck by plague or storm. It is something worse, a world forgotten, the light that saw our beginnings, the star under which every child was born, every tree sprouted, every story told, has blinked out. And we are left, eyes straining, minds racing, hearts unsure what to do next, because we are not meant to live in such silence. We are not meant to guess when the next light will come. Some might gather, some might cry, some might laugh nervously, as if this is all a strange dream. But deep in the bones of every person still standing in this new, strange dark is a quiet voice whispering, something is ending, and something else is beginning. This is the threshold, not of night, but of unknowing, of a world turned inside out. And so we begin a journey into what follows, into the first hour, the first day, into cold, into chaos, into questions, not to scare you, but to show you, to walk beside you as we ask, what happens to a world when its light goes out? What happens to us? Because the sun is more than a ball of gas. It's the reason we exist. And now it is gone. This isn't darkness. This is the absence of light. And it's only after those first 8 minutes, after the gut punch of realization that something fundamental has been removed, that the true nature of our predicament dawns. We don't know how long it will last. And because we don't, we can't respond effectively. All we can do is wait, days, weeks, months, years. Will the sun return? Will we freeze, starve, suffocate? Our lives were designed around 14 hours of daylight, 10 of sleep. Our food supply chains depended on light and heat. Our entire civilization operated under an energetic sun. Now we've gone dark, and we won't know the consequences for some time. And as we watch the hours pass, we discover the depth of what we've lost. It's not just the visual spectacle, it's not just the physical sensations, it's a severing from the rhythm of existence. The tilt of Earth is such that the sun is our constant companion, until now. If you were born and lived your whole life in this light, you have never seen the sky without it. Even during the darkest winter nights, the faintest glimmer would remain. But this is something more. It's a profound disruption to the most basic of rhythms, and we are not equipped to comprehend it. We don't understand the sun's disappearance any more than you'd understand being teleported to Jupiter. For the past 4.6 billion years, the sun has been the immovable center. Around it, planets spin and dance. And always, it gives. It gives light and heat. It gives the water cycle, the tides, the seasons. It gives life. In fact, the very fabric of our reality depends on the sun. Stars may burn for millions, billions of years, but their death throes can last for thousands more. And the sun is not dead. It will not die. But in its absence, we experience the repercussions. The gravitational effects will be felt first. Over days, weeks, months, our orbit will become more eccentric, more elongated. Sometimes we will be closer to where the sun used to be, and sometimes farther out. At first, this will be imperceptible, a minute here, an hour there. But these fractions add up. Soon a full year will consist of 366 days and 8 hours. A decade will be 392 days long. Our calendar, designed around a stable orbit, will fall into chaos. Holidays will come early or late. Birthdays will be stranger. Seasons will drift off kilter. But these shifts will ripple outwards. Crops will wither. Animal migrations will fail. Heat waves will grip lands not used to them. Storms will batter regions never before touched. Hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, tsunamis, snowstorms, blizzards, they will take whatever advantage they can, pushing, pulling, testing, reconfiguring. But it's the light we truly lose. It's not just the inability to grow food, although that will arrive. It's the absence of vitamin D, which means weaker bones, which means greater vulnerability. It's not just the struggle to maintain temperature, although that will happen. It's the absence of circadian rhythm, which means disrupted sleep, which means impaired cognition. It's not just the stagnation of water, which will lead to famine. It's the absence of rain, which means dust storms, which means compromised lungs. It's not just the lack of photosynthesis, which halts oxygen production. It's the absence of a stable atmosphere, which means greater radiation, which means cellular damage. What you thought was a single second could be thousands of years. Time will dilate. Seconds will stretch into minutes, minutes into hours. Time will become elastic. We will live it faster and slower simultaneously. Your grandparents knew a time when the world was darker. They remembered horse-drawn carriages and gas-lit streets. They experienced a transition from oil lamps to electricity. They witnessed the reign of incandescent bulbs. And now they witness the loss of what those bulbs provided. They watch the world dim around them. Again, for many, this will be a time of regression, of returning to earlier models, to practices of long ago. These will seem foreign, inefficient, rudimentary, but necessary. As the sun disappears, our devices start failing. Satellites meant to relay communications can no longer receive signals. Solar-powered panels stop generating electricity. GPS systems cease to function. Cellular networks become unreliable. The infrastructure that allows us to navigate, communicate, trade, wage war, fall into disrepair. A knock on the internet, it falters, then fails. Social media, it stutters, then shuts down. Instant messaging, it ceases. Email, it stops. Search engines, they sputter, then darken. Websites, they blink, then fade away. Cloud computing, it shudders. Data centers, they sputter, then succumb. AI, it freezes. Robots, they seize. Servers, they crash. Mainframes, they shut down. Smartphones, they conk out. Computers, they lock up. Gadgets, they die. Infrastructure, it crumbles. Energy grids fail. Water treatment plants, they malfunction. Agriculture, it stagnates. Manufacturing, it grinds to a halt. Transportation, it collapses. Healthcare, it falters. Food processing, it stops. Waste management, it fails. The sun was more than light. It was the engine of our lives. When it disappeared, it took a lot of us with it. There are other consequences, ones that we can't fully articulate because we've never known them. Radiation levels, for instance. Do we change? Humanity is designed to thrive in sunlight. Our behaviors, architectures, policies, cultures, technologies, every aspect of our existence depends on the sun. And without it, we don't know who we are. We don't know what we will become. What is certain is that nothing will be the same. We thought we had mapped the stars, calculated orbits, predicted phenomena, charted trajectories. We believed ourselves scientific, rational, advanced. But the disappearance of the sun reveals how wrong we were. It leaves us at the mercy of forces far grander than we are. And now we must learn to survive. But not survive as we know it. Not with lights and screens and satellites and preservatives. Not with genetically modified crops or artificial rearing. Not with packaged foods or microwave ovens. Not with additive manufacturing or bioreactors. This will be survival at the edge of understanding, a return to fundamentals, a rejection of complexity. Our only hope is that we can remember. Somewhere deep within us, encoded in our genes, passed down from generation to generation, is knowledge of another time, a time before electric light, before supermarket shelves, before hydroelectricity. It's the memory of resilience, of adaptation, of adjusting to conditions beyond our control. And perhaps, if we can summon it, that memory will be enough. Or perhaps we will fail. Perhaps the sun will never return. And if that is the case, it will be the end of our story, and maybe that's okay. Maybe the universe doesn't owe us an explanation. Maybe we don't deserve one. Maybe our story, like so many others, was always meant to end here. It's been 3 days, 3 rotations of Earth around an invisible axis, 3 nights without dreams. Sleep hasn't been restful. Most can't remember if they dreamt at all. If so, their minds have blocked out the memories. But those who do recall their dreams speak of endless tunnels, of muffled screams, of shadows and monsters and whispers, and each waking moment the world grows colder. Temperatures continue dropping by just fractions. But across the globe, thermometers are registering the creep of winter. Ice forms on lakes, hoarfrost on leaves, tiny ice crystals in the fur of sleeping animals. On Arctic coasts, the ocean freezes over faster than usual. Soon, it will trap thousands of creatures on the ice floes. Whales, seals, polar bears. Winter arrives ahead of schedule. Its chill bites deeper and longer. Already, meteorologists are recording the fastest chill in decades. And the chill brings change. Flights are canceled. Schools shut down. Offices send workers home. Sports events are postponed. The daily rituals of life suddenly seem meaningless. Nothing needs explaining anymore. The facts are plain to see. The sun isn't coming back soon, and maybe it won't come back at all. Across the planet, farmers stare out at their crops, now dying in the cold. Potatoes turn brown in the soil. Pumpkins rot on the vine. Rice paddies freeze solid. Wheat fields wait patiently for a spring that may not arrive. Nature is confused. Plants are programmed to respond to sunlight, and yet there is none to be had. Day and night become meaningless. Seasons lose their order. What survives, survives by instinct alone. The sun has vanished, and in its absence our systems begin to fray. And this is just the beginning. You wake up stiff from sleeping in your own darkness. You can't remember the last time you saw a face without the aid of electric lights. These are strange times to be alive. This is a story that will be told for generations. When the sun went out, everyone knew it was serious. Phones buzz with news alerts. Satellite photos confirm it. There are no obvious anomalies in space, no asteroid strikes, no rogue planets. The sun is truly missing. And humanity's worst fears are confirmed. The conspiracy theories, the myths, the warnings of indigenous cultures, all were true. The sun was taken, abducted by aliens, consumed by gods. The universe doesn't care. With our connection to the cosmos severed, our world begins to crumble. By the 4th day, panic is widespread. Looting and rioting grip some cities. Others retreat indoors. Governments declare states of emergency. Armies are put on alert, but no one has any orders. No one knows what to do. The plan was always to follow the science, but in the absence of precedent, there is no science. So leaders just guess. They offer hollow reassurances. They distribute dwindling emergency rations. They try to impose order on a senseless chaos. But the reality is clear. We are on our own. The sun is gone, and our race to the bottom begins. By the 5th day, the temperature drops significantly. For the first time, sub-zero readings blanket large parts of the northern hemisphere. Water freezes in pipes, cuts off water supplies. Factories halt production. No transport runs. People huddle together for warmth. Inside, fires rage, and each passing hour brings more hardship. In the U.S., temperatures reach negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. In Chicago, New York sees negative 15. San Francisco struggles below freezing. Cities aren't equipped for these conditions. Power outages become widespread. Fires spread through wooden homes. People grow weaker. The first deaths begin to appear. At first, it's elderly or those with health issues. Then, younger bodies succumb to exposure or despair. The lucky ones find shelter, food, fuel, and medicines. Others roam the streets, growing weaker, slower. But most stay inside. watching the dwindling hours of daylight fade away with each passing day. In the south, survivors cling to their verandas, hoping for a miracle. In the north, people dig snow caves, trying to build a new world under the ice. On the sixth day, things get much worse. Many no longer leave their homes, no point. There's nothing to gain. The fortunate ones conserve heat with blankets and quilts. Others burn whatever they can find to stave off the cold. The lucky ones keep warm. The unlucky ones drift into unconsciousness and die. It's impossible to count the dead now. They lie outside, inside, wherever life flickers, hope flickers. You look for signs of life, of resilience. Can humanity endure? Will the sun return, or are we doomed to wander in eternal darkness? People try to keep busy. Board games reappear. Card decks are shuffled. People read by the light of their phones. Some sing, dance, or pray. Some watch their favorite movies for the 100th time. Others reread their favorite books. But many can't bear the solitude. They call their loved ones, but the phone lines are jammed. They post online, seeking human contact. Some share memes, others rumors and conspiracies. By the seventh day, the air grows thin. Cold affects more than body. Barometric pressure plummets. Each breath becomes a challenge. Numbing cold seeps into bone and sinew. People seek higher altitudes, crowding mountaintops. Even though there's no oxygen there, the cold is a cruel equalizer. It spares no one. Governments and aid organizations hand out emergency supplies, but no one can reach everyone. No one can save everyone. There are too many people in the world and not enough resources. Already, fights break out over food and fuel. The niceties are long gone. The finality of the situation sinks in. This is it. Human society is on the verge of total collapse. Some prepare for the end, others seek solace in religion, and still others, numbness. The question is, what would you do? How would you spend your last hours? Because the odds are against us. By the eighth day, the full extent of our folly is revealed. Those who did prepare survive. Those who did hunker down with food, water, fuel, and medicine have a better chance. Those who retreated to warmer climates fare better. Those who ran to the mountains find themselves trapped by snow, a game of chance, really. You survived this long by luck, but luck won't save you forever. And death by cold, it isn't quick. It's agonizingly slow. 10 days after the sun went out, the world has changed. The boundaries between night and day are blurred. The concept of time itself is challenged. There's no celestial rhythm to measure moments. It's hard to believe 10 days have passed. It's harder still to imagine what comes next. Those who survived the cold now face other perils: hunger, thirst, madness. The social fabric is torn. No one knows who to trust. Factions emerge, some charitable, others predatory. Small bands of survivors roam the countryside, scavenging for food. Raiding parties steal from abandoned homes. Some seek refuge in numbers, others retreat into themselves. Hope flickers still, but so does fear. The first few weeks without the sun are the hardest. Temperatures drop further. Oceans freeze, cutting off shipping lanes and fisheries. Plant life dies, ending the era of agriculture. Farming is no longer possible. The lucky ones have stockpiled food. Others must forage for what remains. Famine follows close behind the cold. And people are the biggest threat. In this new world, desperation drives some to extremes. By the 2-month mark, things are bleak. Survivors struggle to maintain their shelters. Resources dwindle. Sickness spreads. Medicines are long gone. Antibiotics, useless. Vaccines, irrelevant. Infections run rampant. The immune system wasn't designed for this world. Survival becomes a matter of luck and endurance, which lasts another 2 months. By the 4-month mark, the population has been decimated. The world has become a graveyard. Every shadow is a ghost. Every empty building, a tomb. Survivors are scattered, weak and starving. There are too many people in the world and not enough resources. So society has fallen. It fell slowly at first, then faster, finally a collapse in mere weeks. But what happens next? After the collapse of society, after the exhaustion of resources, after the final goodbyes? Humanity has survived many apocalypses, the asteroid impact, the ice age, the atom bomb, but this might be the greatest test of all. Can we survive without the sun? How long can we endure? In a world stripped bare, isolated and alone, humanity's fate hangs in the balance. This is the beginning of our story. It's also the end. The sun is gone, and we don't know why. Maybe it will return, maybe it won't. But one thing's certain, we will survive. And when the sun does return, the world will never be the same. The true unraveling begins. 7 days, 1 full week without the sun. And now, the true unraveling begins. At first, you thought the darkness was the worst part. The silence, the cold air brushing against your neck like a whisper from something unseen. But you were wrong. The darkness was just the invitation. Now comes the consequence. The earth has begun to freeze. Not like in the movies, not instant walls of ice swallowing cities whole. No, real cold is slower, more intimate. It creeps. It starts with the mornings, if you can even call them that anymore. They feel no different from midnight. Clocks still insist it's day, but your senses disagree. The sky hasn't changed in a week. Black, star-swept, uncaring. Outside, the temperature has plummeted, not Arctic yet, but near freezing, even in regions that should still feel the last heat of summer. And it doesn't rise. There's no solar cycle to warm the air, no noon to lean toward, just a steady decline. The first frost arrived 2 days ago, silvery and quiet, curling around grass blades, creeping up windowsills, frosting rooftops. Now it lingers through what should be midday. Now it kills. Crops were already confused. Now they're dying. Fields of wheat stand motionless, their growth arrested. Leaves turn brittle. The smell of rot begins to fill the air, sharp and sour. Farmers walk rows that will never be harvested. Greenhouses flicker under artificial lights. But their heat is limited, their energy supply thinning. Photosynthesis has stopped completely. Every tree, every leaf, every patch of grass, waiting for a light that no longer comes. And without that light, their systems shut down. They can't feed themselves. They can't feed us. Food becomes the first true crisis. Grocery stores see a second wave of panic buying. The shelves, already thin from the first day's hysteria, are now stripped bare. Flour, canned goods, bottled water, gone. Fights break out in the aisles. Security guards struggle to keep order. Some stores close entirely, their owners fearing riots more than bankruptcy. Supply chains falter. Truck drivers, unable to find fuel or safe passage, abandon routes. Warehouses freeze. Air freight becomes too costly, too chaotic. Most flights are already grounded, not by regulation, but by necessity. Planes rely on weather, and without sunlight, the jet stream has unraveled. Winds are unpredictable. Storms form without heat and collapse without energy. Navigation systems, many solar-dependent, are blind. The skies grow quiet, airports dim, tarmacs glaze with frost. Runways gather snow in cities where snow has never fallen, and still, the cold deepens. In your home, you wear layers to bed. 3 blankets, 2 pairs of socks. You sleep with the lights on, not for vision, but for sanity. The dark is beginning to press inward. You try to keep your routines, morning coffee, even if it's still black outside. Evening dinner, even if it feels like midnight at 5 p.m. But your body doesn't know what hour it is anymore. Your circadian rhythm, that ancient biological clock wound by the sun, has broken. You're tired when you shouldn't be. Awake when you want to sleep? Everyone is. Hospitals report a surge in sleep disorders. Melatonin sales skyrocket. Some turn to stimulants, others to sedatives. But nothing feels normal, because nothing is. And still, people try. Some towns organize light festivals, strings of bulbs overhead, bonfires in the square, music echoing through cold air. They pretend for a while that this is all temporary, that if they shine bright enough, maybe the sun will see them and return. But beneath the laughter, the unease is growing. Because this isn't just a blackout. This is the death of rhythm. And without rhythm, life begins to fall apart. Animals know this better than anyone. Migration patterns collapse. Birds that should be halfway across the globe are still sitting on wires, staring up into the dark. Some fly in circles, others fly nowhere at all. Turtles, whales, caribou, creatures whose lives are tied to seasonal cues, are lost. The oceans, too, are shifting. Surface waters cool rapidly, stripping warmth from the skin of the sea. Plankton, the tiny plants of the ocean, are dying first, just like plants on land. And with them, the food chain trembles. Fish grow sluggish. Coral reefs begin to bleach, not from heat, but from absence. The great engines of aquatic life are seizing up. Whales swim through dark water, confused. Sharks venture into shallow bays where they don't belong. Seals gather on beaches, unwilling to return to frigid currents. In the deep sea, life remains, for now. Hydrothermal vents and chemical energy offer pockets of resistance. But the surface world, the part we know, the part we need, is in decline. On land, the wildlife grows erratic. Raccoons wander in daytime. Deer move silently through suburbs, unsure when to forage. Wolves, desperate for food, begin to appear near cities. People post videos of strange animal behavior, thousands of birds landing in empty stadiums, herds of bison frozen in fields, eyes glowing in the headlights. Even pets act differently. Dogs bark at windows, cats hide under beds, aquariums grow cloudy, their filters failing without steady power. The boundaries between human and wild begin to blur. We share the same fear now, and yet, despite it all, some still hope. In pockets of the world, scientists work without rest. In bunkers, on isolated mountain labs, on remote islands, they search for explanations, for theories, for answers. Could this be a cosmic event, a rupture in space-time? Could the sun have collapsed into something invisible? A black hole? A neutron star? A dimensional breach? No one knows. But the data is clear. It's not returning. At least, not yet. Religious experiences, a surge. Churches, temples, mosques, all filled beyond capacity, not because people believe more, necessarily, but because they need somewhere to ask why. Some pray, others scream, some simply sit in silence and wait. The first week ends not with ceremony, but with resignation. You wake up, or maybe you never slept, and find frost coating the inside of your windows. Your breath fogs the mirror. You run the tap, and the water takes longer to warm. Outside, the streets are quieter than before, less movement, less sound. As if the world is holding its breath again. The darkness is no longer strange. It is now your atmosphere, the cold, your constant companion, and through it all, the quiet remains. No explosion, no warning, no signal from the stars, just the absence of one thing, the one thing we never thought we could lose. It's been 30 days since the sky turned black and the sun disappeared. No, that can't be right. The news hasn't reported it. We haven't gotten any alerts. Why would the sun disappear after 4 billion years of existing? It should have started slowing down its rotation millions of years ago, not suddenly stop shining. Did you try turning on your light switch lately? The flickering fluorescent light in my apartment casts the only illumination over my face as I ask this question into the vast abyss of the internet. Maybe the city is still working on restoring power to all residents. That must be it. But what if it's not? What if I went insane? Could it be possible that I'm the only person on Earth still awake while everyone else sleeps? Still, I can hear a pin drop. Is anyone else still awake? I message my friends, but their reply takes an eternity to appear. Maybe the phone servers are overloaded. Has anyone seen the sun today? My best friend replies. How could I put it? There's no point in making plans when the sun's gone, she replies later. Then my niece sends me a message. I see you're awake. Are you okay? This is important. If the sun doesn't come back, can we still celebrate my birthday next month? When she writes this, it must be night for her. I live in New York, she lives in LA. So it's only been 28 days for her, and of course I think the sun must be coming back tomorrow. It has to. But what if it doesn't? Today I turn on my computer and read an article about the sun's uncertain future. NASA says our star will run out of hydrogen fuel in about 5 billion years. Not that soon, right? Then why does the sun seem to have gone off so suddenly? The experts say the magnetic field that shields the sun from space particles may have weakened drastically. They say something huge may have hit the sun. They say the sun may have entered a black hole. Experts say a lot of things, but they don't really know any more than I do. So I decide to take matters into my own hands. As the night goes by, I watch the live streams of amateur astronomers. For some reason, the live streamers aren't wearing hats and gloves. Why aren't they wearing hats and gloves? Do they have a secret that I don't? As the hours pass, I start getting very cold. Still, none of the live streams show the sun. None of them show anything but an infinite field of twinkling stars. Stars. Can someone tell me if they're seeing the sun? I post. No reply. Can someone please answer me? Please. I leave my laptop on and go to bed. When I wake up, it's still dark. I immediately turn on the radio. Static. I turn on the television. Snow. I turn on the computer. Nothing. I still can't find any proof that the sun is coming back. Is the universe punishing me? It must be. What did I do wrong? Suddenly, I realize I haven't heard a car horn in forever. Where is everyone? Have they all gone away? Where did they all go? Was the sun a metaphor for something else? Something they knew would happen and they prepared for, but I didn't? Am I crazy? I stand up. I need to get out. I put on a hat and gloves and go out. The sidewalk is covered with a layer of snow. Footprints mark the place where people have walked before. I walk along the path left by others. I don't want to leave a footprint behind. I want to be invisible. I don't know how long I've been walking when I see movement ahead of me. I quicken my pace. The closer I get, the more defined the motion becomes. I catch sight of a woman crossing the street. She's wrapped in layers. Her breathing leaves white marks in the frigid air. Hello, I call out. She turns her head toward me, then quickly looks away. She continues to move forward, not knowing that I'm following her. I need to talk to her. I need to know I'm not alone. We walk side by side in silence for a while. Finally, I say, "Are you cold?" She doesn't answer. "Are you hungry?" Again, she doesn't answer. I keep asking questions, but she's not listening. I reach out and touch her shoulder. She stops and turns to me. "Who are you?" she asks. "I don't know who I am," I tell her. She seems kind of nice, but also scary. I want to keep talking to her, but I'm afraid of what might happen. The cold is penetrating my clothes. I pull my scarf tighter around my face. I need to go home. I tell her, "Goodbye," and turn to leave. "Don't go." She reaches out and grabs my arm. "Why won't you stay with me?" "You're cold, we could share body heat." I think she's trying to help. I also think she might be crazy. I want to go home, but I know there's nothing waiting for me there. "Stay with me," she begs. "I'll share my food, my water, my books. We can read them by the light of the stars. Stay with me." What choice do I have? It's better to be cold with someone than alone. I say, "Okay, let's go." As we walk, I notice something odd. Other figures are emerging from doorways and windows. A man in a fur hat, a woman with a woolen shawl, a young couple holding hands. Are they crazy too? Do they know something? They look happy. The woman with the shawl waves at us. The man in the fur hat tips his head toward the sky. "Do you see it?" he calls out. "The sun is back." Of course I don't see the sun. I turn to the woman. "Do you?" "Yes," she replies. "Look." Together we turn our faces upward. At first, I see nothing. Then I notice a faint glow on the horizon. The glow grows brighter, chasing away the darkness, bringing warmth to my face. I smile. I'm crying. I want to scream. The sun is back, but my voice is hoarse from disuse. All I can manage is a whisper. Thank God! The sun is back. The woman beside me smiles and nods. Thank God, she whispers. The sun is back. And we stand together watching as light chases away the darkness, chasing away the cold, chasing away the fear, chasing away the memory of what we lost. There are always stories of survival after disaster. Tales told and retold around flickering lanterns of how people pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and made good after the world went bad. But those are fairy tales. Those are written by people who never really experienced the collapse. This is what happens when the world ends, when society fails. This is what happens when you spend 1 month without the sun. And now, we begin to see what it really means to be human, in the absence of everything we took for granted. Because this is where the true reckoning begins, not just with the world outside, but with the world within. Our infrastructure was never built for eternal night. Our minds weren't either. The systems we relied on, the fragile mesh of electricity, heat, water, food, communication, have started to break, but slowly, like hairline fractures in a frozen lake, invisible at first, until something heavy steps onto the surface, and then crack. One by one, the cracks have appeared. Power grids go dark, even in major cities. Fuel reserves dwindle. Internet becomes unreliable, then vanishes altogether in places. Heating becomes precious, then political. Governments scramble to maintain order. They enact emergency measures, martial laws, curfews. But order, like daylight, is a thing that fades. In some places, chaos begins to bloom. Looting spreads, not from malice, but from hunger. The line between survival and crime blurs when there is nothing left on the shelf and the cold has crept under your door. Police forces are stretched thin. Military convoys move food, not weapons. Hospitals overflow, first with injuries, then with despair. Doctors work by lantern light, wrapped in layers of coats and blankets. Their breath fogs in operating rooms. They do what they can with what they have. But the power to save is shrinking by the hour. It's not just frostbite and malnutrition anymore. Now, it's the mind unraveling. Because the human brain is wired for rhythm, light and dark, sleep and wake, morning and night. Without those cues, people begin to drift. Some lose track of days entirely. They eat at strange hours. They speak in half-thoughts. They forget how long they've been awake. A wave of psychological disorders sweeps across the globe. Not just depression, but something more primal, something animal. There's a word for it in old circumpolar cultures, those used to living in long, dark winters. They call it piblokto, a kind of darkness-induced hysteria, screaming, running, weeping, confusion. Not madness, just the brain searching for the sun that isn't there. Urban areas once considered strongholds of civilization begin to hollow out, not from death, but from leaving. People flee the cities in waves, seeking food, warmth, safety. They head underground into old subway systems, bunkers, basements. In some places, entire communities now live beneath the surface. They've built new lives down there, strange, flickering ones. Everything runs on timers now, fake sunrises and fake nights, LED lamps mimicking daylight. Melatonin supplements handed out like candy. Some say it's working, some say they've adapted. But even underground, you can't escape what's happening in your chest. The ache, the weight of a sky that's forgotten your name. People start carrying memories like artifacts, photos of beaches, of children under blue skies, drawings of sun rays on napkins, songs about summer played quietly in the dark. Stories become currency. I remember when the sun hit the lake at 6 a.m. like glass. I used to burn my feet on the sand. I once saw a sunflower grow taller than my father. Sometimes you hear laughter, but it's always thin, like someone laughing in a dream they don't believe in. Religions surge and fracture. Some believe it's punishment, others say it's prophecy. Some speak of purification, some of apocalypse. A few believe the sun has simply moved, and if we pray or build or atone, it might return. But most people don't talk about it anymore, because talking makes it real, and belief now, more than ever, is a fragile thing. There are whispers of cults rising, of groups who worship the darkness, others who worship light, artificial, flickering light, treating batteries as sacred relics, light bulbs as gods. Desperate people create desperate meanings. And yet, within all this, there is still kindness. A stranger gives you a blanket. A neighbor shares her last can of soup. Someone sings, just to fill the silence. Someone else lights candles in windows, hoping maybe someone walking by will feel less alone. You begin to understand just how much of our humanity was shaped by warmth. We didn't just live in the light, we became it. Our languages, our rituals, our calendars, our art, it all revolves around the sun. Our festivals celebrated its return. Our myths personified it. Our gods rose with it. Our ancestors tracked it through stones and stars and seasons. And now, it's gone. We are still here, but are we still us? And that is when it becomes clear that life without the sun isn't just a physical challenge, it's an existential one. It's a test of everything we believed in before, what mattered and what didn't, how we measured time, what we understood as reality. When the sun goes out, everything we knew, everything we built, everything we were, it all begins to fade away, and we're forced to confront the fundamental question of what comes next. Because a year ago, we confidently declared that our species had evolved beyond such questions. We said we could solve any problem with technology, create any solution with innovation. But now, stripped bare, all we have are the ancient tools of adaptation, endurance, community, storytelling. If we're going to survive this long night, we'll need all of those things. And maybe we'll need something more, something we've forgotten, something wild. The ability to let go of the past, to accept the new reality, to abandon the ghost of the sun and find a different path forward. Communication between regions becomes increasingly difficult. In some places, radios still operate, voices crackling out into the void. A woman reads poetry over shortwave. A child tells knock-knock jokes to no one. A man describes the stars he can still see in vivid, trembling detail. Across the static, these voices become lifelines. They remind you that even in isolation, we are not entirely alone. Not yet. But still, the cold grows worse. You notice it in your bones, your fingertips, the corners of rooms where frost forms like lace. You dream about fire now, old fires, hearths, the glow of campfires on summer nights. You wake up reaching for warmth that isn't there, and then there's the grief. A quiet, private grief, not for people, but for color, for light, for meaning. You miss shadows. You miss the golden hour. You miss walking outside and not seeing your breath. The things you never thought to treasure now live only in memory. And you wonder how long memory lasts when the world offers nothing to refresh it. But still, people endure, some adapt. Engineers rig geothermal systems to heat small shelters. Communities band together to grow mushrooms in controlled rooms. People turn to old knowledge, preservation, fermentation, insulation, candle making. Children born into the darkness don't know what they've lost. They chase flashlights down corridors and laugh without irony. There's hope in that. A stubborn little flame. Some say we'll make it through, that we'll survive long enough to find a way, underground, under domes, in orbit, that this isn't the end, but a hard beginning, and others aren't so sure. Because the darkness does not forgive easily, it teaches harsh lessons, and not everyone will see the other side of them. But if we do, If we survive this long night, then the story of humanity will carry a scar, a reminder that we lived through the death of our star, and somehow, even then, we did not let go of each other, not entirely, because no matter how dark it gets, as long as someone is still whispering hope, a little light survives. There is a chilling thought that haunts astronomers, scientists, and philosophers alike. What if the sun, our life-giving star, were to vanish without a trace? It's not just a fantasy straight out of a dystopian novel, but a real scientific possibility that has kept many awake at night. In the vast expanse of our universe, anything is possible. So let's delve into the depths of this terrifying scenario and try to find answers to these questions. How would life on Earth be affected if the sun disappeared tomorrow? Could humanity survive without its radiant glow? As we peer into this abyss of cosmic uncertainty, we might just discover how truly resilient we are. The immediate aftermath of the sun's disappearance would be catastrophic. Without warning, the world would plunge into an eternal daytime twilight, the sky bereft of any starlight. Within hours, the lack of sunlight would trigger an abrupt end to photosynthesis, collapsing the foundation of our food supply. The earth would turn into a frozen wasteland. Animals would perish, plants would wither, and our carefully constructed society would crumble. In this stark new reality, humanity would need to draw upon every bit of ingenuity and resourcefulness to endure. After 6 months, the implications of the sun's absence would become even more dire. Without the sun's gravitational pull, the Earth's orbit would be disrupted, possibly hurling our planet into a tailspin. Temperatures would plummet further, and the Earth's atmosphere would begin to dissipate into outer space. The sun, with its powerful magnetic field, acts as a shield against harmful cosmic radiation, but without this protection, we'd be exposed to dangerous levels of radiation. The ozone layer, vital for shielding us from the sun's ultraviolet radiation, would disintegrate. The Earth's core, however, might offer a glimmer of hope in this desolate landscape. Deep beneath the surface, the Earth's molten core still radiates heat. The average temperature at the boundary between the Earth's core and the mantle is around 5,000 degrees Celsius. Geothermal energy could potentially provide the heat necessary for survival. The Earth's core could become a focal point for life. Humans could huddle around artificial geysers spewing hot water or cultivate miniature ecosystems fueled by geothermal heat. With careful planning, geothermal energy could also power essential technologies such as communication systems and rudimentary heating mechanisms, helping us cling to existence. But harnessing this energy wouldn't be easy. The intense temperatures and pressures deep within the Earth, coupled with the lack of oxygen, would pose significant technological challenges. However, if we manage to tap into this internal furnace, it could well be the difference between survival and annihilation. But what about the oceans? They cover more than 70% of our planet's surface and contain most of its fresh water. Could they provide a sanctuary for humanity? Beneath the frozen surface, the ocean depths could harbor a reservoir of warmth. At depths of just 200 meters, the temperature hovers around 4 degrees Celsius. While that's hardly tropical, it's still enough to support life. And unlike the surface, the oceans would be shielded from cosmic radiation. Diving deep into the ocean's depths could therefore offer a safe haven from the harshest effects of the sun's disappearance. Furthermore, the oceans themselves are a source of geothermal energy. Hydrothermal vents scattered across the ocean floor release heat and chemicals, sustaining unique ecosystems. These underwater oases could become crucial resources in a post-sun world. But surviving beneath the frozen ocean surface presents its own set of challenges. The crushing water pressure hundreds of meters deep could be enough to disable even the sturdiest submarines. Additionally, the potential for toxic chemicals released by hydrothermal vents could pose a serious threat to human health. Still, the ocean depths might be humanity's best bet for enduring the sun's absence. However, there's a caveat to this bleak yet intriguing picture. The sun, though vital for life as we know it, won't last forever. Stars have lifespans just like living beings, and in about 5 billion years, our sun will run out of hydrogen fuel. Its core will collapse, causing the entire solar system to shudder. The sun will swell into a red giant, engulfing Mercury, Venus, and possibly even Earth. In this scenario, the sun's demise would simply accelerate the inevitable end of life on Earth. The absence of sunlight would only hasten the demise of our planet, forcing humanity to seek refuge elsewhere or face total annihilation. With the sun's death looming, a few brave souls might ponder a desperate plan. Escape, fleeing from the icy grip of a dead sun, would be a monumental task. If humanity is to survive, we'd need ships capable of journeying to other star systems. Destinations like Alpha Centauri, 4.3 light-years away, could offer a faint glimmer of hope. However, reaching these stars would take centuries, forcing survivors to undertake a multi-generational journey. On these generation ships, life would be confined and resource-intensive. Each ship would need to carry sufficient provisions, including water and food supplies, to sustain human life over centuries. Artificial gravity, radiation shielding, and closed-loop life support systems would become crucial for maintaining the health and sanity of passengers during the journey. Given the vast distances involved, interstellar travel raises fundamental ethical questions. Should we abandon our frozen home immediately? What if another suitable planet isn't encountered for thousands of years? Would we truly be escaping the same fate? But what if instead of searching for a new star, we turned our gaze to the frozen surface of the sun itself? Despite its lifeless appearance, the sun's surface could potentially yield valuable resources. Solid hydrogen and helium, remnants of the sun's former atmosphere, might still linger in pockets on the sun's frozen crust. Extracting these resources could provide fuel for those venturing out into the vastness of space. Could humanity truly endure the loss of its life-giving star? It's a sobering thought. As we contemplate this scenario, we realize just how delicately balanced our existence is. Every aspect of human life, from the food we eat to the air we breathe, depends directly on the sun's unwavering presence. In a world devoid of its warmth, we'd face challenges we can barely fathom. However, this chilling prospect also highlights the incredible adaptability of the human species. Throughout history, we've overcome countless obstacles and proven time and again our capacity to innovate and survive. Perhaps in the face of such a cataclysmic event, we'd unite like never before, pooling our intellect, courage, and resourcefulness to navigate this brave new world. The disappearance of the sun would undoubtedly be a colossal challenge, an unprecedented test of our resilience. But it might also serve as a crucible, forging a new era of human ingenuity and solidarity. In the grand cosmic perspective, the death of the sun doesn't just mark the end of a star's life, it also reflects the impermanence of all things, including our own. But as we confront this unsettling possibility, we also glimpse the strength and tenacity of the human spirit. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, the spark of life, curiosity, and hope can continue to burn brightly. After all, we are the universe contemplating its own existence, forever bound to the cosmos from which we came. And as long as that bond holds, the story of life, even under a dying star, is far from over. The sun is going to die, and when it does, the world as we know it will change drastically and very fast. Its final moments won't be pretty. It will swell, expand, engulf nearby planets, and then collapse. The entire process will happen over a span of just 3 days, which is really not a lot of time for Earth to get its affairs in order. Will humanity be able to adapt, or will our extinction be imminent? In the quiet after all has changed, when the sun has finally fallen silent and the warmth we once took for granted has slipped away, there remains a stillness that is not empty but pregnant with meaning. It is a silence that invites us to listen to the universe, to ourselves, to the faint, persistent heartbeat of life in the midst of vast, encroaching darkness. Imagine that final moment. The sun's light no longer reaches Earth. The day never breaks into full brightness, but lingers instead in an eternal dim twilight. The world has been forever altered. The rhythms that once guided us of dawn and dusk, of seasons turning, of life blooming and fading, are broken. Time itself seems to bend, stretching out into a slow, unending night. When the sun dies, the sky will lose its vibrancy, colors will dull, shadows lengthen, and an unnatural quiet will hush the world. The gentle rustle of leaves, the cheerful chirp of birds, the murmur of a babbling brook, all will fall silent. In this eerie quiet, the remnants of sunlight trapped in our atmosphere will create an ethereal glow, painting the twilight sky in hues of faded gold and deep indigo. The stars, usually distant pinpricks of light, will emerge in their full glory, transforming the night sky into a glittering expanse of celestial wonder. The constellations, normally obscured by daylight, will blaze across the heavens, a silent, solemn reminder of the universe's vast indifference. But perhaps the most profound impact of the sun's death will be felt within. The rhythms of our lives, intricately woven into the sun's cycle, will be shattered. Our biological clocks, attuned to the sun's rising and setting, will falter. The chemical processes that sustain life, dependent on solar energy, will begin to falter. Even our moods, often mirroring the sun's arc from dawn till dusk, will darken. As the world plunges into perpetual twilight, life on Earth will enter a period of suspended animation. Plants, deprived of the energy they need for photosynthesis, will wither and die, leaving behind skeletal husks that litter the landscape. Crops will fail, food supplies will dwindle, and the delicate balance of ecosystems will collapse into chaos. Animals, disoriented by the absence of daylight, will wander aimlessly, their natural instincts and migration patterns disrupted. The symphony of birdsong and the buzz of insects will fall silent, replaced by an unsettling quiet. Humanity, too, will experience profound changes. Our sleep-wake cycles, finely tuned to the sun's rhythm, will falter. Without the visual cues of day and night, our internal clocks will struggle to keep time, leading to widespread sleep disorders and disruptions in our circadian rhythms. The lack of sunlight will also trigger a surge in psychological distress. Seasonal affective disorder, already prevalent during winter months on Earth, will become a constant shadow. The very foundation of our societies, built around the predictability of solar cycles, will be shaken. Global economies, dependent on the smooth functioning of supply chains and international trade, will grind to a halt. Transportation systems reliant on timetables aligned with daylight hours will falter. The absence of sunlight will also cast a literal darkness over our world, both physically and metaphorically. Crime rates are likely to soar as darkness descends earlier and persists longer. The psychological toll of living in perpetual twilight cannot be underestimated. In such a world, survival will test the limits of human endurance. Food shortages, economic instability, and social unrest will pose unprecedented challenges. But amidst the struggle, acts of kindness and community will also emerge, binding people together in the face of adversity. Families and communities will rally, sharing resources, comforting the distressed, and seeking solace in shared stories and traditions. Acts of kindness, often overlooked in brighter times, will become beacons of hope, reminding humanity of its capacity for empathy and compassion. In this era of suspended animation, life as we know it will cease to exist. Cities will be abandoned, their streets transformed into eerie, empty stages. Skyscrapers, once symbols of human achievement, will stand as hollow monuments to a bygone era. The quiet echoes of the bustling crowds will linger, a haunting reminder of what once was. Rural areas, more self-sufficient and attuned to natural cycles, may fare slightly better. Small communities with access to resources like food, water, and fuel will have a better chance of enduring. However, even in these pockets of resilience, the specter of the sun's death will loom large, casting a long shadow over daily life. In the aftermath of the sun's death, the concept of time will take on a new meaning. Without the sun's consistent cycle, our traditional notions of days, weeks, and years will dissolve into ambiguity. Timekeeping devices, calibrated to the solar year, will become useless. We may revert to lunar cycles or devise new systems to measure the passage of time, reflecting our disorientation in a world without a guiding star. The death of the sun will also shatter our connection to the cosmos. Celestial navigation, once crucial for seafarers and travelers, will become impossible. The familiar constellations, our celestial companions for millennia, will vanish from the night sky. Our place in the universe will seem uncertain, and our sense of direction lost. Yet in the depths of this cosmic winter, a new understanding of time will emerge. Human ingenuity will find new ways to measure the passage of time, perhaps aligning our calendars with the cycles of distant pulsars or the predictable paths of comets. These celestial bodies, unaffected by the sun's demise, will offer humanity a new framework for understanding time, a reminder that even in the absence of a guiding star, the universe still marches forward. In this age of perpetual twilight, the sun will become a celestial deity, a godlike figure whose absence is keenly felt and deeply mourned. Ancient myths and legends surrounding the sun will be revived, offering people a sense of continuity and solace in a world turned upside down. Rituals and ceremonies honoring the sun's life and death will emerge, weaving together the collective grief of a species that has lost its anchor to the cosmos. As the sun's light fades from our skies, the world as we know it will end. The familiar landmarks of our lives, the patterns of day and night, the warmth on our skin, the vibrant colors of a sunrise, all will be taken away, leaving us in a state of profound disorientation. The sun, once a source of life and vitality, will become a symbol of loss and absence, a stark reminder of our planet's fragility and our species' vulnerability in the face of cosmic indifference. But even in the depths of this cosmic winter, the seeds of adaptation will be sown. Human resilience and ingenuity will kick in, driven by the primal urge to survive. We will adjust our biological rhythms to the new reality, seeking solace in the cycles of the moon and the stars. Communities will rally, sharing resources and knowledge, drawing strength from one another in the face of adversity. Over time, the sun's death will become a defining moment in human history, shaping our cultural identity and driving innovation. We will invent new technologies to harness the faint light of distant stars, developing advanced agricultural methods to grow food in the absence of sunlight. Our scientific understanding of the universe will deepen as we explore new frontiers in astronomy and cosmology. And in the depths of this cosmic night, the human spirit will shine. Acts of kindness, creativity, and bravery will illuminate the darkness, reminding us of our capacity for good even in the face of overwhelming odds. The death of the sun will also be a catalyst for spiritual awakening. Faced with the ultimate test of survival, we will confront our mortality and reevaluate our place in the cosmos. New religions and philosophies will emerge, centered around the worship of distant stars or the memory of our life-giving sun. The collective grief at the loss of our guiding light will be transformed into a profound appreciation for the beauty and fragility of existence, fostering a deep sense of interconnectedness among all living things. As the sun's light fades from our skies, the world as we know it will end. Yet from the ashes of the old world, A new one will rise, forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the darkness of a starless night. The sun's death will be a cosmic reset, forcing us to confront our limitations, to adapt and innovate, and ultimately to find new sources of light in an ever-expanding darkness.